some basic ideas of mechanisms. We have some targets for treatment, but we basically don't have an answer. And what I just described to you is a very long, slow process that is the way science works. And unfortunately, that process also requires funding. All of those things that we've discovered up to now have been driven by research dollars, whether it be by NIH research dollars, or drug company research dollars, or philanthropic dollars. That's how this goes, and the only way we're going to discover more about this disorder, and hopefully one day find a way to robustly treat it, and maybe even cure it, is through money, funding. I wish it weren't that simple or so complicated, but that's basically the truth. And so we are dependent at our center at the University of Pennsylvania on outside funding. Our research coordinator, Kelly, standing right there, is basically our lifeline for clinical trials. Her salary is actually funded not by Penn, but by outside dollars. We're absolutely dependent on that kind of funding in order for our research at Penn and our contribution to research in general to basically try to find a way out of this disease so we can help people like Michael and other patients with ALS that we take care of at Penn, but are cared for at other ALS centers around the United States and Europe and the world. So when Mike approached us about full court press on ALS a year and a half ago, we were ecstatic. I mean, we thought, what if this actually could work? What if we could actually get some funding to keep our research going at Penn, to contribute to research at large? And so we have worked with Mike over this time. We had a gala at Penn emphasizing this back in last fall. And that's why we came down here from Penn to Washington when Mike said, please come. So I'm really proud to be Mike's physician. I'm really proud that Penn is contributing to this fight for finding a way out of this disorder. And I hope you all get involved as well. So I've had the privilege of working with my colleague, Dr. Lauren Ullman, for 15 or plus years now. She's a wonderful colleague and co-director of the ALS Center at the University of Pennsylvania. And Lauren's going to give some remarks to you now.
It's a real pleasure to be here. First of all, let me just say thank you all for coming to this amazing event. Thank you to Dr. Hendricks for his vision in organizing this event, for everyone else who organized this. I will also say go Redskins. Even though I'm at Penn now, I was brought up in the area and I could actually lead you all in a full verse of Hail to the Redskins, but I will spare you because I don't have such a wonderful singing voice, but I could do it at best. I want to say that what Dr. McCluskey was talking about was one part of our mission at the University of Pennsylvania, which is a research mission, which we take extremely seriously in hopes of ending this disease, hopefully forever. But there's another aspect to what we do at the University of Pennsylvania, which is that we take care of the people who are living with this disease now, like Dr. Hendricks and like the 250 other people who are seen at our center. And taking care of these people is really a Herculean task. And that task can only be accomplished by a very large multidisciplinary team. And that team involves quite a number of people. It involves the neurologists, but I'll be honest with you, we don't do nearly all of the work. We have, in addition to ourselves, we've already called out our research nurse coordinator, Kelly Almacy, who does more than her fair share of the work, but we also have a nurse practitioner. There are physical therapists and occupational therapists who contribute enormously to the care of these people, as well as speech and language pathologists, dietitians, social workers, pulmonologists, and many others who contribute to the care of these people along the way. This is a complicated disease that interferes with life in many aspects, as you can probably well imagine. And this kind of care does not come cheaply. And unfortunately, this kind of care is not paid for by insurance the way it stands now. And in fact, as a data-driven physician as I am, you're probably not going to be surprised that I'm going to quote you some data. This is data that comes out of Mass General, published just recently. And in fact, what they did is they added up the costs of care for taking care of people with ALS. And what they found is when they crunched the numbers, they found that fully 45% of the cost of care for people with ALS is not covered by insurance. So that's $45 of every $100 is simply uncovered. So it just isn't paid for. So the question is, where does that money come from? Who swallows that? Well, I can tell you that health systems cannot swallow that. So where does it come from? Well, it comes from philanthropy. That's the only place it can come from. And when it doesn't come from philanthropy, what happens to it? Well, it doesn't happen. So then what happens is programs shut down, or we simply can't have a social worker, or we simply can't have a physical therapist to come and see a patient. And that's entirely unacceptable, because what it's saying is that these people don't deserve that kind of care. We all know that's not true, because then people like Dr. Honrichs don't continue to get the quality of care that they deserve. So what I'm trying to impress upon you is that the care of people with this disease is expensive, but it's important and it's something that needs to go forward. So just as we try to move research forward so that we don't have this disease anymore, we need to be able to also focus on caring for people who do unfortunately have this disease. And unfortunately that requires money, and that's, I believe, one of the reasons that Dr. Honrichs started Full Court Press on ALS, so that people who do have this disease, and particularly people who may be disadvantaged, can continue to get the quality care that they need. So I just wanted to sort of explain to you a little bit about where we come from. At the University of Pennsylvania, we do have this dual mission of research and patient care. And I again want to thank you all for being here to show your support, and I hope this is the first step in an ongoing relationship. So again, thank you for being here. And now I want to take this opportunity to introduce our next speaker, who I met about 1.5 or 2 years ago at the very beginning of Full Court Press on ALS, Mr. Marco Morcos, who's a longtime friend of Dr. Honrichs. I believe they met in about 2004 when they were opposing coaches during a basketball game, which I guess can be a pretty tough way to meet, but it sounds like it turned into what's become a lifelong friendship. And what I take home is that Dr. Honrichs really became Marco's mentor, and in fact started him off on his career in college basketball, and this has turned into a really very beautiful relationship. And one of the things that has been born out of this relationship is Full Court Press on ALS, which Marco is very deeply involved in now. So please welcome Mr. Marco Morcos.
Yeah, no crying. That's the thing. Thank you, everybody, for making it today. I know a lot of you guys traveled a long distance. I'm not going to try to promise not to get emotional, but this is something that I hold really dear to me. I'll give you guys a little bit of a story of how I met Mike and how our relationship has grown over the last 12 years, 13 years. Me and Mike were coaching against each other, and we had a pretty heated game, and he was actually coaching alongside another gentleman named Rick Barrett, and me and Rick almost came to blows after the game, and he separated us. He got my information, and he said, you know what, I think you could be really, really good in this business, and I just need you to do things a little bit differently. I was young, hot-headed, I didn't really have a lot of direction, and needed someone who's been in the business a little bit longer that can kind of smooth out some rough edges. So I'm coaching high school basketball in South Jersey. We're winning games, we're doing well, and all of a sudden I said, you know what, I want to bump up to the college level, and don't really know how to get to college level. So I asked people like Eric Skeeters and Coach Nickelberry and other people, I said, how do I get into the business of college basketball? They're like, well, you got to find somebody that will hire you, you got to be there at the right time, right place, and didn't really know my entrance into the business. And I go and, I interview for different jobs, don't have a chance to get them. End up having a player that's really, really good, that's recruited at a high level, named Terrence Roderick, who everybody all over the country recruited. The young man ended up going to the University of Alabama, Birmingham, and I followed along with him. About 8, 9 months later, I realized that a New York City boy does not do well in Birmingham, Alabama, and needed to come back closer to the East Coast. I come back, I have a 2-year-old young boy, and I'm trying to be closer to him, so I'm more available to raise him. And I asked Dr. Hines, I said, Mike, man, I need to get closer to home, or I need to be at a school where I can recruit nationally. He says, now my mouth is full with Novocaine at this time, because he's my dentist as well. So as my mouth is numb, he calls Ben Braun, who just got the head coaching job at Rice University, and he's still in Berkeley, California, because he's finishing up the last month at Cal. He said, hey, I have the perfect guy for you to hire. I'm like, wait, this guy doesn't even know me. He's like, well, look, this is what you're going to do. I need you to send him your resume, but he'll call you next couple of days. Within 12 hours, I get a call from the associate AD at Rice, and I'm on a plane from New York to Berkeley, California, and interviewed for the head coach, or the assistant coaching job, rather. Before I even landed in Berkeley, he had already offered me the job. I had missed the email that he had sent me. He said, here's your contract. This is just a formality. Come down, interview for the job. Next thing you know, I worked my way all the way up to an associate head coach. I think I was 28 years old as an associate head coach coaching Division I college basketball. A lot of that was because of Dr. Hines. So everybody has a story about when they were introduced to ALS, or when they was the first time they heard of ALS. I gotta tell you the truth, I never knew what ALS was. I get a call from Mike one day, and I think I'm recruiting, it's like July, beginning of the July evaluation period, and Mike is like, hey man, I need you to come in and get some work done on your mouth. I said, dude, it's the middle of the recruiting period, like I can't come down there and get my teeth worked on. He's like, well, I'm not gonna be able to work for very much longer. I have this, something that I've been diagnosed with called ALS. I said, I'm sorry, man, what's ALS? So he kind of tells me that, doesn't tell me what it really means. Kind of just tells me, hey, I have this disease, this is what it's called, this is what it impacts, and I'm not going to be a practicing dentist very much longer. So I go, as soon as I hang up with him, I look up what ALS is, and I'm like, Mike, this is pretty serious, man. Like, you didn't even, why are you worried about me getting work done at a dentist's office? He's like, well, I'm not going to be able to work much longer, and I don't want anybody else working on you because you don't have insurance. Fair enough. On my way. So me and Mike going back and forth, and he's like, hey man, I'm not ready to give up. I have to do something to impact this. And so me and Mike going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and Mike comes up with, listen, we're going to start a foundation. I said, all right, man, I'm in. Let me know what you need me to do. I'm in. So we're going back over names. We're like, coaching versus cancer. And we come up with full court press on ALS. And we don't necessarily know how to get our message out there and help Dr. McCluskey, Dr. Ellman with, one, not only research dollars, but people, I don't know how many of you in this room don't know what ALS is, but I didn't know what ALS was. But raising awareness to the cause, and then obviously raising precious research dollars that they use their dollar and stretch it to the up-teen power. So when I tell you that this disease is directly impacted by research dollars, it is directly impacted by the work that research universities do and need people, that philanthropic people such as yourselves, that would be willing to help the cause. Along the way, we decided that we were going to do something called an exempt NCAA tournament. And the way you would do an exempt tournament was basically you would have an event that is 10 teams, 12 teams, whatever it is, a lot of coaches versus cancer, and then we would try to host games throughout the country. And I didn't really know how to do it, to be honest with you. So I called Nickelberry one time, Coach Kevin Nickelberry. And it was really late at night, and I think I got him on a real good time. Because he usually won't talk for longer than 15 minutes, he's got another call coming in. And I said, Coach Nick, man, look, this is what's going on. We really, really need help with this. He's like, all right, send me some information on it. I sent some information on it, and I sent him an email that Mike had wrote me. And then Mike wrote him an email. and Kevin was immediately on board. I did the same thing with Coach Steve Donahue, and I leaned on Coach Donahue to help us with the Ivy League. And Coach Donahue was able to spread our message, and the entire Ivy League carried the Full Court Press on ALS logo and moniker for a week during ALS Awareness Week. I think Coach Donahue will share his own reasons why he's involved with this, but I think everybody has to find a reason that they want to get involved in something like this. Everybody has a cause that they feel is dear to them. This cause is dear to me because someone that did not need to help me, gentleman was a very successful doctor. He took some sort of time and effort with me to make sure that I got to where I wanted to get to. And that's why I've dedicated the rest of my career in sports or whatever may have you as if I can serve this cause, because this is really what it is. So just want to bring up a couple of people that I'd like to thank. Obviously, one, Coach Steve Donahue, who has been, unbelievable in supporting us with this. Coach Kevin Nickelberry, who is, my brother, who's my mentor, just like Mike. And it's kind of crazy because they kind of resemble each other, but one's obviously black. But they remind me so much of each other. It's crazy because the heart of someone, just how they deal with you. So I want to thank Coach Nickelberry. I'd like to thank Mrs. Heinrichs and the Heinrichs family, because you guys have given so much of your time and allowed us to have some of Mike's time. And I know that's y'all time. And the fact that you guys give us some of that time means so much to us. And we know what you guys go through. Yeah. And we know what you guys go through. And the fact that you guys can lend us, some time with Mike was amazing. So I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Dr. Hellman. Where are you? There you go, from behind somebody. Dr. Hellman, you've been amazing. Without having University of Pennsylvania attached and having Dr. Hellman and Dr. McCluskey, without having them on board and having a target who we're raising money for, we can't do this. If we're asking you guys, hey, we're raising awareness for ALS, we're raising money for ALS, where's it going? It's going to those fine folks right there. So when we raise money, we raise awareness. We're raising awareness for ALS, but we're raising money for a research facility that is sharing their information with everyone. Real quick story. I'm out there trying to raise money from a sponsor. I'm talking to a home infusion company about helping us with some sponsorships because they push different pharmaceutical companies to the forefront. As I'm talking to them, they say to me, Dr. Heinrichs is one of our test patients. This is literally completely happenstance. So I'm literally trying to raise money through a home infusion agency, trying to get sponsorship. The same company that I'm trying to raise money from is actually treating my guy. So you can imagine how small that circle is. It's not going to go very far. If you guys can come this way, because I'd like to introduce a video and then our next guest afterwards, because the video is going to play on this TV screen right here. So this is a short video that one of our most arduous supporters has decided to do for us. Jesse Waters is a huge supporter of Dr. Heinrichs and has probably the most watched show on Fox News.
I'd never met him before, but he wrote to me out of the blue and said he was a big fan of my work on Fox News. I immediately knew this man had great taste. He invited me to speak at a fundraiser for ALS at the University of Pennsylvania Art Museum. I was born and raised in Philly, go Eagles, so I was happy to do it. I'd actually done the Ice Bucket Challenge a while back, To be honest, I had no idea what it was for. I just got nominated by my cousin. So as I was
Please turn
preparing
to
some
this
remarks
TV.
for the event, I began researching ALS, what it was, who it afflicts, and how funding to fight it is so critical. But it wasn't until I met Michael face to face for the first time at the Philly fundraiser that I truly understood the disease and became connected to the cause. First of all, Michael's the man. Everybody knows him, loves him. He's got that twinkle in his eye, that great smile, and has a way of inspiring everybody around him. He's so genuine and is a tremendously hard worker. And we hit it off right away. Hearing him that night describe in explicit detail how living with ALS is like being physically trapped within the pain day and night opened my eyes to see how urgent finding a cure was. I delivered a few brief remarks that night. I got a little political because Michael told me to tee off on Obamacare. I even got yelled at afterwards by an angry professor with a drink in her hand. I said, man, that's what Michael wanted. So I promised not to bring up Obamacare again. And so does Mitch McConnell. But what brought it home that night was Marcos. He got to the podium, ripped up his notes, and spoke from the heart about Michael for about 30 minutes. He had me laughing, he had me crying. I came up to him afterwards and said, man, you got me. I'm in. I'm invested in full court press on ALS. Anything you need, I'm there. So earlier this year, we helped Marcos and Michael kick off the Trick Shot Challenge at the Patrick School in New Jersey. Nick Richards, McDonald's All-American, now at Kentucky, dunked on me. And we aired it that weekend on Fox News. And this summer, Michael came up to New York with his son and watched the taping of the Greg Gutfeld Show, the second best show on Fox News, besides my show, Water's World. And we talked and we laughed, and he invited me down to DC for this event. So I have two bosses now, Fox News and Michael. Because anytime either of them tells me what to do or where to do it, I say, yes, sir, I'm there, whatever you need. Michael is what the president would call high energy. That's because through the sheer force of his personality, he has enlightened me to the cause of finding a cure for ALS. He's inspired me to join him in this important effort. Thank you for fighting, and thank you for leading. I'll always follow you.
I'm going to have Coach Donahue introduce our next guest. Jesse Waters has been an unbelievable supporter of full court press on ALS. He's done more than anything that we've ever asked for. He gave us a guest segment on his show. Water's World is the most watched show on Fox News, which is the most watched TV channel, TV network in the United States. He took the opportunity to host us on his show, completely up to him, completely at his own behest. And because of Jesse, we were able to get our message out to 14 million people. So the next person I'd like to introduce is Coach Steve Donahue. Steve Donahue is the head coach at the University of Pennsylvania and is an unbelievable champion for ALS.
Thanks, Marcos. I'm like Dr. Elman. I'm from Philadelphia, and I'm an Eagles fan. All right, which we won today. 61-yard field goal to win it to the Redskin fans. I appreciate all of you coming today, in particular the college coaches. September's become a crazy month where we're recruiting is really stepped up, practice, all those things right around the corner. For you to give your time for this calls, really appreciate it. My personal story is when I was at Boston College, I had a good friend named Dick Kelly. He was our sports information director. He was a guy I worked out with. One day he had just something going on with his hand. Went to the doctors, couldn't figure out what it was, and eventually figured out it was ALS. And he was gone in 2 years. And experiencing similar things that Mike is going through. Since then, it just kind of made it my mission to do whatever I can to help ALS. And when I got to Penn and figured out we have one of the most incredible care facilities for research and care itself, I found out about Mike's diagnosis and thought I could do whatever I can to help this out. And I'm going to continue to do that. I think we have a platform as coaches. Mike never said this to me, but he could be the Jim Valvano and what he's done for Coaches versus Cancer to ALS. And if we can do that for Mike, I'm going to try to do everything I can to help. Right now, I'd like to introduce our first, actually the season 2016-2017, the recipient of Champion of Calls. As you saw, he used his media platform to help spread our message. He even got dunked on by McDonald's All-American. He's from Philadelphia and an Eagles fan. He's been on our board, and he was our speaker at our gala. And as he said, he'll do anything he could to help us. So the 2016-2017 Champion of Calls, Jesse Waters.
I'm not going to put that on.
Put it on.
Thank you very much. Let's give a nice warm welcome and round of applause to Michael over here, please. I did get dunked on, and when I cut the video for Fox News, I had a line in there that said, "White men can't jump." But Fox made me take it out. Too soon. And if anybody wants to know where the after party is, talk to Marcos. Let me know. So on the t-shirt, we have a line that says, "Every day is a victory." And I think that perfectly sums up exactly what's going on here. Just to put a punctuation